It looks like Shedeur Sanders has answered the bell. He has responded. He was thrown to the back burner when he was supposed to have his reps with the ones the other day. He gets his reps.
What happens when an entire local sports media ecosystem becomes absolutely terrified that a massive $250 million front office mistake is about to be completely exposed by a young, heavily doubted quarterback? We are currently witnessing one of the most desperate, highly coordinated media spin cycles in the modern history of the National Football League. The Cleveland Browns training camp has officially mutated from a standard football evaluation into a high-stakes psychological war. For days, the establishment media has been desperately trying to convince you that the quarterback battle is completely over, prematurely crowning the veteran and attempting to push the rookie to the back burner. But the absolute second the young signal caller was given a legitimate opportunity to respond, he didn't just answer the bell. He completely kicked the door down and silenced the entire facility. You are locked into the absolute, undisputed authority on the raw, unvarnished truth behind the biggest cover-ups, controversies, and locker room agendas in professional football. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's dive directly into the incredibly shady media bias that has the entire football world demanding answers.
Shedeur's going to go today with the ones. Unless on the way out, I change my mind, and then he won't, okay? Just like any other player in terms of how we rotate them. And the bottom line is the speculation, which I find...
Truly comprehend the sheer, mind-numbing absurdity of the current media narrative, you have to look directly at the absolute masterclass that unfolded during day 11 of training camp. Just 24 hours after the media tried to claim Shedeur Sanders was losing ground because he split reps with the backup unit, the coaching staff handed him the keys to the first-team offense. And his...
Kind of looking at it, Shedeur's got a few more reps with the ones. That's all it was. I wasn't even at the moment. I was like, yeah, sure, we'll flip it, and then next week we'll go the other way. I sure as hell wasn't thinking about coming back in here and telling all you guys that I was going to change my mind, because I really don't have to. And so that's just the way of being the head coach.
Response was absolutely devastating. Sanders stepped into the pocket against the starting defense and delivered a pristine, highly surgical performance. We are talking about a completely dominant 16 of 23 passing display, securing 3 beautiful touchdowns with absolutely 0 interceptions. But it wasn't just the raw statistics. It was the terrifying, undeniable chemistry he was actively building with his perimeter weapons. Sanders was launching absolute dots, dropping the football into a bucket for rising star Denzel Boston and seamlessly connecting with KC Concepcion. He was actively targeting elite, highly paid defensive backs like Denzel Ward and beating them with pure, unadulterated arm talent. This wasn't a quarterback trying to survive a practice. This was a franchise leader.
Not true? You're described more passable. So are people losing their mind over passable? If passable is what tipped the scales in the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday that I was gone, then I got a lot of questions to ask. How do we get here? Passable is how all of a sudden Deshaun Watson overtook this thing. On Tuesday, the man couldn't throw.
Aggressively proving that he is the best player on the field. But the absolute glaring hypocrisy of the Cleveland media becomes overwhelmingly toxic when you analyze how they grade the other side of this quarterback battle. Earlier in the exact same week, reporters and radio hosts openly admitted that Deshaun Watson looked completely, undeniably...
Hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. Let's get right into things. Let's start with this first throw. A touchdown here to Denzel Boston. Shedeur Sanders looking really good out there.
Unplayable. He was struggling with his reads, hesitating in the pocket, and throwing highly concerning interceptions. Yet, the absolute second Watson managed to string together a single, decent bounce-back practice on Wednesday, the entire media narrative violently shifted. Reporters who had just watched him struggle suddenly rushed to their keyboards to declare that Watson had completely run away with the competition. They took a few days of barely passable execution and desperately tried to package it as the triumphant return of an elite, franchise-altering superstar. It is a highly calculated, deeply manipulative attempt to actively drag Shedeur Sanders down, while artificially inflating Watson's status just to protect a massive, fully guaranteed contract. And that undeniable media panic recently reached a
light bulb all of a sudden went on. I don't know that all of a sudden Deshaun Watson has this whole thing figured out, but maybe he's heading in the right direction, maybe he isn't, time will tell. I get back 6 days later, and really 6 days later from Tuesday, when everybody buried...
point on the local radio airwaves, resulting in one of the most explosive, scorched earth reality checks of the entire offseason. During a massive afternoon drive broadcast, the hosts absolutely stepped up to the microphone and delivered a brutal teardown of the entire Cleveland press corps. They completely exposed the sheer cognitive dissonance required to watch a quarterback look awful on Tuesday, look mediocre on Thursday, and then miraculously declare him the undisputed starter by Friday. The hosts openly questioned how a few passable practices somehow completely erased a wide-open quarterback competition. They flat out
happened on the field. You're taking that and you guys are running with it, and I understand why. Because Monken told us with his own words that you'll start to know it based off of how I give out the reps, what's happening. Well, when Shedeur's taking reps with the ones today, shouldn't that flip-flop and shouldn't we go back into the idea of this being an actual open competition?
called out the fabrication, proving that the actual analysts who are charting the throws and watching the film knew the absolute truth. The media was actively trying to force a conclusion to a race that was still entirely neck and neck, simply because they were terrified of what would happen if the rookie actually won. Realizing that their massive generalization was rapidly falling apart, the media desperately tried to use the practice repetition schedule as definitive proof of their narrative. When Watson took the majority of the first-team reps on day 10, the insiders completely lost their minds, claiming it was the final nail in the coffin for Sanders. But head coach Todd Monken completely shattered that illusion during a highly anticipated, brutally honest press conference. Monken stepped up to the podium and casually dismissed the media's wild conspiracy theories. He explicitly explained that the rep distribution was simply a fluid rotation. Guys on the coaching staff literally walked up to him and suggested Sanders needed a few more reps with the ones. So Monken flipped the script for day 11. He looked directly at the press corps and delivered an absolute mic drop. As long as we're sharing reps, it's a competition. Monken completely refused to play the traditional political games, proving that absolutely nothing in Cleveland will be handed out based on reputation, salary, or media demands. Which brings us directly to the massive, underlying contradiction that is currently paralyzing the Browns' front office. The Cleveland organization prides itself on being a strictly, highly advanced, data-driven franchise. They utilize complex analytics to dictate everything from their draft strategy to their fourth-down decision-making. Yet, when it comes to the most important position in all of professional sports, they are actively ignoring their own philosophy. The hosts on
11, Shedeur Sanders took all first-team reps. Shedeur Sanders, 16 of 23, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Deshaun Watson, 15 of 22, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So a fairly good day for both quarterbacks, but Shedeur Sanders did it against the ones, which means a lot. So Shedeur Sanders taking advantage of his opportunity there. Let's take a listen to Afternoon Drive as they spoke about the update.
The Afternoon Drive broadcast absolutely nailed this paradox. There is absolutely zero data, zero analytical evidence, and zero game tape from the last 6 years that points to Deshaun Watson being capable of playing elite, championship-level football. The numbers simply do not exist. For a data-driven front office to even consider starting a veteran who has been historically unproductive and injury-prone over a highly efficient...
Tuesday was a Deshaun Watson cannot throw a football day, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is not a million days ago. This is 6 days ago. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, we talked about it, Nick. Deshaun, and by me, I mean me and Nick, right? Nick Wilson, not Nick Padone. But I'm sure you listened, you're around, you were at practices.
Yep.
Deshaun was unplayable on Tuesday. You fast forward to Monday again, and I was there Wednesday. I thought he had a great day on Wednesday, and I thought Deshaun had a really nice day for himself. I gave him credit on the air, bounced back, and when I left,
ascending young talent like Shedeur Sanders is the absolute definition of organizational malpractice. They are actively telling the fan base to ignore the data and blindly trust a broken process. This staggering, undeniably pathetic double standard exposes the deeply toxic undercurrent of insider journalism. For months, national reporters and local beat writers have been continuously leaking front office rumors, desperately trying to prime the fan base for a Watson start. We heard rumblings before spring practices even began that the veteran had the upper hand. But when you actively strip away the hype, the anonymous sources, and the heavily spun articles, the objective reality on the practice field tells a completely different story.
They had a nice day for himself. He was legitimately unplayable with what I saw on Tuesday. A couple passable practices later, and all of a sudden, the quarterback competition is over? The quarterback competition doesn't exist now? What's going on, Padone? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make much sense to me either. As somebody that wanted to see Shedeur start, I said I came in here with like a big proclamation that after the regular season ended.
Scorekeepers are actively holding the receipts. Shedeur Sanders is executing at a level that completely contradicts the media's doom and gloom projections. He is protecting the football, mastering the complex pre-snap cadences, and proving that he is entirely willing to execute the offense exactly how Todd Monken has drawn it up on the whiteboard. The insiders can desperately try to manifest a Watson resurgence, but hit pieces.
It happened long before you ever left. It happened months ago, even, if you will. All of these insiders, from Schefter to Garofolo, everybody's got these rumblings that the Browns want to start Deshaun Watson. The Browns want to start Deshaun Watson. We heard locally from
and anonymous quotes cannot throw a deep out route against Denzel Ward. We are officially standing at an absolute, undeniable precipice regarding the future of this incredibly talented football team. The anybody but Shedeur Mafia is completely out of ammunition, and their carefully constructed narratives are violently disintegrating on the practice fields in Berea. The establishment can artificially spin the narrative all they want.
That's beating Denzel Ward right there. That's a hell of a play. Went right at Denzel Ward. This is versus the first team, man. Shedeur Sanders delivering an absolute strike to Denzel Boston. Then he went up to Casey Concepcion.
And the talking heads can continue to hide behind vague, protective excuses, but absolutely nothing changes the terrifying reality waiting just around the corner. When the real bullets start flying during the upcoming preseason games, the massive defensive linemen are unchained, and the pocket begins to violently collapse. The practice field illusions will completely evaporate. The true starting quarterback will be undeniably exposed under the stadium lights. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe the front office is actively forcing the coaching staff to play Deshaun Watson to justify his contract? And who has genuinely earned the right to take the very first snap of the regular season?